9 a.m. on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. The Pat and Aaron Show.
Yeah, first place Bucs.
Thank you, Buccaneer John. He's always ready at the right times.
The Pat and Aaron Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. WDAE St. Petersburg, W237CW Pinellas Park, W224BE Brent, WRUB HD3 Clearwater. Streaming on iHeartRadio. Streaming on iHeartRadio and live on WDAE. Here's an Around the League update.
And good evening, everyone. At 6 o'clock, TKras, Tom Krasnicki with you with your Around the League update presented by Root Air Conditioning, powered locally by Ferguson HVAC. We're 2 hours away from kickoff. Buccaneers and Commanders on NFL Wildcard Weekend. Everything you need to know about this matchup coming up. Countdown to kickoff following this update. A couple of games going on today. One right now in Philadelphia. Buccaneers are watching this one closely. The Eagles just picked off Jordan Love. Love has been intercepted twice already today, and the Eagles have a 10-0 lead on the Packers. They are late in the second quarter. And earlier today, in an AFC wildcard matchup up in Buffalo, it was all Bills as they beat up on the Broncos 31-7. Josh Allen with 2 touchdown passes. The Bills rushed for over 200 yards. So Buffalo will host Lamar Jackson and Baltimore next weekend. Meanwhile, Houston, who won last night, they go to Kansas City. And tomorrow night, you've got the Vikings and the Rams. They moved that game to Arizona because of the wildfires in Southern California. Get reliable cooling and comfort installed by certified Root Pro Partner. Go to rootacflorida.com to schedule service today. That's rootacflorida.com, powered locally by Ferguson HVAC. Here we go.
Let's go, offense. Let's get this show going, man.
Hey, Tampa Bay, welcome to Game Day.
Let's do it. Y'all better ball there, boy.
1, 2, 3. This is Countdown to Kickoff.
1, 2, 3.
Your live and in-depth 2-hour home for everything you need to know on today's matchup on the gridiron. Now, it's time. Let's kick things off with your host, Tom Krasnicki.
Welcome aboard on a game night here in Tampa Bay. It is Countdown to Kickoff. TKras, Tom Krasnicki with you. Great to have you with us. Derek DeBose will be with me all night long on the ones and the twos. He's along for the ride as well. And tonight, it is a playoff matchup right here in our own backyard at Raymond James Stadium. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Washington Commanders. Kickoff time just after 8 o'clock. Everything you need to know about this matchup coming your way over the next 2 hours or so. We are live, by the way, on 95.3 FM, the mighty AM 620. And don't forget to download the new and improved iHeartRadio app. It is awesome. They've got scans. You can scan your favorite iHeart station. They've got presets, also favorites. You can favorite WDAE along the iHeartRadio app. I urge you to do so. You can also favorite your favorite podcasts like the Drive podcast with yours truly each and every weekday on your ride home. All that could be done through an iHeartRadio app. So download it. It's new and improved, and it's a beautiful thing. And good evening to all of you who are watching us worldwide on the stream. We're streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X at 953 WDAE and AM 620. Like and subscribe all day, every day. So we'll try and take your phone calls. I know a lot of you are headed to the game. You're excited. You're nervous. You're all pumped up. The atmosphere in and around Ray J and really in our town this entire week has been at a really high level. And why not? The Buccaneers have won this division now 4 straight years. They've been in the playoffs. This will be their 5th consecutive appearance in the playoffs. That's the most, by the way, in the NFC in the last 5 years. They've done it every single year. They're the only NFC team that can make that claim. And look, they're home tonight against a Washington Commanders team that they've already seen now. Albeit it was a week 1 game between these two teams, and the Buccaneers won that game 37-20. A lot has changed, though, since these two teams met on opening day. Now, Jaden Daniels, the number 2 overall pick, the kid out of LSU, is a tremendous, tremendous quarterback, and he had a tremendous year. In that week 1 matchup, he had 88 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Since then, he has grown leaps and bounds in terms of his maturity level, in terms of his pocket awareness, even though he's been sacked a lot of times. but he has developed a really good rapport with Terry McLaurin, his number one receiver, who went on to catch 13 touchdowns during the regular season. So he did not have a great game against the Buccaneers in week 1. He will have a more integral role in this game here tonight. And, after that week 1 loss, the Commanders turned around and won 4 in a row, including road matchups at Cincinnati and at Arizona. And then they hit a little bit of a lull, losing 3 in a row in the midway point of the season, but they finished strong, and that's why this team is dangerous. They won their last 5 games, and along the way, they beat the Eagles, who right now are going into the locker room up 10-0 over the Packers. We'll keep you updated on that matchup over the next 2 hours. They also beat the Falcons, if you remember, that Sunday night game in overtime where Jaden Daniels took over that game in the extra session, and that helped the Buccaneers win the NFC South. So Jaden Daniels is a special player. He's a special talent. He not only has matured a great deal as a passer, he completed almost 70% of his passes his rookie year, 25 touchdowns, just 9 interceptions. Very good against the blitz. In fact, these are the 2 best quarterbacks against the blitz during the regular season. Baker Mayfield, number 1, and Jaden Daniels, number 2, in a lot of different categories. And Jaden Daniels was also the leading rusher for this Washington Commanders team during the regular season. So you've got 2 of the better offenses in football because the Buccaneers finished 4th in scoring offense, 3rd in total offense. They also finished 3rd in passing, 4th in rushing, number 1 in red zone, number 1 to 3rd down. So they finished toward the top in a lot of those statistical categories. Meanwhile, the Commanders were also top 5 in scoring offense. They're also top 5 in running the football at 154 yards a game. The Commanders were 3rd in the NFL in running the ball, mainly because of their quarterback, who's their leading rusher. So this should be an interesting game. That's why the over-under is 50.5 for this one here today. We've got game day locks, by the way, coming up in the second hour of this show. I've got a parlay going with some interesting player props from this Bucs Commanders matchup that I will share with all of you coming up in hour number 2. But this is why the over-under is so high. These are 2 of the better offenses in football going head-to-head. 2 really good quarterbacks. You look, Baker Mayfield, top 3 in the NFL in touchdown passes, completion percentage, passing yards, and he's the only guy to have achieved all 3 in those 3 categories. So he has had a career year, and he's done so behind one of the top 3 offensive lines in all of football, led by the all-pro left tackle now in Tristan Wirfs, and we'll talk about him a little bit later on. And you're talking about a rookie running back in Bucky Irving, who rushed for over 1,000 yards in his rookie season. He's been the centerpiece of the Buccaneer ground game, really down the stretch. He is now the starting running back for this Buccaneer team, and justifiably so. The kid is a special talent, and one of the steals of the entire draft, a 4th-round pick out of Oregon. He's made an incredible impact. And what more could you say about Mike Evans and what he did last week? On the last play of regulation of the last regular season game, Mike gets his 1,000 yards receiving. He did it for the 11th consecutive year. To begin a career, that's an NFL record, and he tied Jerry Rice with the most 1,000-yard seasons with 11 straight. Jerry Rice has the most overall 1,000-yard seasons with 14. So Mike still has a ways to go to get that record. But what Mike accomplished last week and what he's accomplished so far in his career has only been done by one other man in the history of the NFL, and that is the GOAT when it comes to receivers, and Jerry Rice, the pride of Mississippi Valley State back in the 1985 draft. I remember that draft well. Jerry Rice, Al Toon, Eddie Brown. Just an incredible draft for wide receivers. So Mike is right there with very exclusive company based on what he did last week. And Mike has a really big matchup tonight that a lot of people are going to be watching, because on the other side is his old nemesis from the NFC South, formerly with the Saints. The Commanders made a trade for this guy. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be shadowing Mike Evans all night long, and that's going to be one of the big matchups we're going to be focusing in on. Later on this hour, we're going to go inside the locker room. We'll go to Raymond James Stadium. Rick Stroud is standing by. He's covering the game for the Tampa Bay Times. You can read him at tampabay.com. We'll get his thoughts on this extraordinary matchup between Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore. It's the Bucs against the Commanders for the right to move into the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. Hopefully, the Buccaneers can do that next weekend. So we'll get Rick Stroud's thoughts on that. At about 30 minutes from now, we're going to find out who's up, who's down for this game here tonight. Key injuries on the Buccaneers side, but it looks like they're going to get a lot of their key players back. Antoine Winfield Jr. has been out the last couple of weeks with that knee injury. It looks like he is going to be back, as well as Cade Otton, as well as Jamel Dean. This is about as healthy as the Buccaneers have been really all season long, going back to week 1 when they faced this Washington Commanders team. And if you remember, in that week 1 matchup, Antoine Winfield Jr. went down with that foot injury, and then shortly thereafter, Lou Gedeke had a concussion that knocked him out for 5 weeks. But it looks like tonight the Buccaneers might be as healthy for this wild card matchup just in the nick of time in the playoffs as they've been all season long. So we'll talk about it. Rick Stroud will join me a little bit later on in this hour. And then in the top of the next hour, just after 7 o'clock, we'll go behind enemy lines. The radio play-by-play man for the Washington Commanders, Bram Weinstein, he will join me. So we'll pick his brain about how this Washington Commanders team went from 4-13 a year ago to 12-5 this year. And they did it really under extraordinary circumstances if you look at it. I think they're a year ahead of schedule because new ownership took over, Josh Harris. They got a new general manager. They got a new head coach in Dan Quinn, and they spent the first pick, number 2 overall, on a rookie quarterback who has been guiding them, who's been starting every single game. So everything was new with the Commanders, and to go from 4-13 to 12-5 is certainly a huge accomplishment. And we're going to go behind enemy lines with Bram Weinstein coming up in the next hour. And at some point, I'll try and take your phone calls at 888-546-4620. Text at 82945 on the Bartow Ford DAE text platform. It's great to have you with us on a game night here in Tampa Bay. TKras with you. This is Countdown to Kickoff, getting you set for all things Bucs and the Commanders. Kickoff time just after 8 o'clock. When we come back, we'll get into our first word segment. Can the Buccaneers solve the primetime jinx? We'll talk about it with you. The first word is coming your way next here on Countdown to Kickoff on your home of the best Bucs coverage. It's WDAE.
If you're watching football this season, you know anything can happen. And on Hard Rock Bet, we mean anything. One fan in South Florida turned a $1 touchdown parlay into a $40,000 payday. Hard Rock Bet has parlays for days. With flex parlays, now you can even miss a few picks and still get paid. Parlays for every...
Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
It's just an odd stat for me. I mean, we've lost some 1 o'clock games, we lost some 4 o'clock, we lost some 8 o'clocks.
That's Todd Bowles trying to explain why his team was 0-4 during the regular season on prime time. And tonight, the Buccaneers are playing on prime time on Wild Card Weekend against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. We welcome you back. It is the First Word segment, and it is presented by my guys over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. MossNissan.com is where it's at. So Todd's response, and sometimes, I mean, he tries to, skirt around subjects, and maybe he doesn't say the right thing. Yeah, you've lost 1 o'clock. You've also won some 1 o'clock games. You've also won some 4 o'clock games. You know what you haven't won? You haven't won games under the lights. Not this year. Now, last year, and a lot of you are going to point out, yes, it was a Monday night game last year. They faced an Eagles team that was absolutely falling apart. They were 10-1, if you remember. They lost their last 5 games. They didn't have A.J. Brown. And the Buccaneers, look, credit to them. They came in there, and they whipped their ass 32-9. And then the year before that, another primetime game, they got blasted by the Dallas Cowboys. So hopefully the Buccaneers can weed that out. Now, last week, they did reverse a trend. Maybe they can reverse the whole primetime trend here tonight. Last week, they reversed a very important trend, because going into that game last week against the Saints, the Buccaneers were 0-6 in games where their opponent scored first. 9-1 when the Bucs score first. And when the Saints got out to a 3-0 lead, psychologically, maybe that was in the back of their minds, and then the Saints really pulled away. In the first half, they were up 16-6 before the Buccaneers made some adjustments. Todd Bowles, give him credit for that. Then in the second half, the Buccaneers clamped down, and they were able to come back and win that game, win the division. They got Mike their record. It was the perfect day last week. So they were able to get their first victory of the season last week when the opponent scored first. So they bucked that trend, pardon the pun. Maybe they can buck this trend here tonight when it comes to the primetime thing. And look, once the game kicks off, all of that stuff is in the rearview mirror. But hopefully the Buccaneers can make things work here tonight. We'll try and take a phone call or two. In fact, let's take one right now at 888-546-4620. It's Countdown to Kickoff. Mike is in Tampa. Mike, are you ready for playoff football? How are you?
I sure am, TKras. How about you?
I am ready, buddy. Let's go.
Let's go. I was here at the end of the game last week with New Orleans, and here to cheer him on, man. Really glad to get Antoine Winfield back. I think he's going to allow us to do some more creative blitz packages. And I really think for this game to go off the way we want it to, we're going to have to run the ball. And if Bucky gets 100, I think we're going to look pretty good at the end of this game. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs. And look, and I appreciate the call, Mike, and you're right on in terms of what this team needs to do in order to get this victory. The Buccaneers are one of the best offenses. They're certainly one of the best running teams in the NFL. And the Washington Commanders, on the other side, were one of the worst teams in stopping the run during the regular season. They were 30th in the NFL in rush defense, and I expect the Buccaneers to exploit that part of the game. And look, it's going to be a physical game, and the game is going to be won or lost in the trenches, and I think that's where the Buccaneers have the advantage. The first word presented by Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. Up next, we'll go inside the spin zone. We'll take more of your calls as well. Will the Buccaneers' top 5 offense carry them tonight? You're going to hear from the orchestrator of this high-flying Buccaneer offense coming up in 2 minutes. It is Countdown to Kickoff. Happy game night. Buccaneers and the Commanders coming up.
That's markspain.com and start packing.
Countdown to Kickoff rolls on. Let's return to your host, Tom Krasnicki, live on WDAE and streaming live on the free iHeartRadio app. The talk is over. The hype is done. Let's look into the future. Time for the Spin Zone, live on Countdown to Kickoff.
You look at that game, we struggled to, we ran it okay, but we struggled at times. Their front is pretty solid, and, they got a good defense in general in terms of, especially in that front seven, right? And I think we ran it okay, just maybe we sprung a few late, which were good. We had a couple 4, 5, 6-yard runs. We've probably run it a little bit better at this point than we did at that point in the season. But, it's a tough group. I have a ton of respect for Bobby Wagner and what they're doing over there on defense and how they play the game. They run to the football. They do a lot of really good things. They're tackling at a high level. I know that was something he had mentioned in the first game that they didn't do as well, was tackling. You see them tackle a lot better. So don't expect it to be probably like it was the first game. It's going to be a playoff game. We all know what this is going to be like.
Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen previewing the matchup tonight. Bucs offense against that Commanders defense. The over-under is 50.5. As we welcome you back, it is Countdown to Kickoff. Great to have you with us. We're inside the Spin Zone. Tom Krasnicki with you, getting you set for this matchup taking place at Ray J. Electricity in the air tonight in our town. Playoff football is back. And with a victory, the Buccaneers can move into the divisional round next weekend. And when you go back to that week one matchup, you got to throw everything out the window. The Bucs rushed for 112 yards that night. Bucky Irving led the way with 9 carries for 62 yards, and I think that was a sign of things to come because Bucky Irving is now the man. He went on to rush for 1,000 yards. He led all rookie rushers in rushing. By the way, you know who number 2 is on that list? The guy on the other side, Jaden Daniels. He's the second leading rookie rusher from the quarterback position. So this should be a really interesting game. And you heard Liam Cohen talk about this defense of the Washington Commanders. Jonathan Allen was lost for the season. So, they've got Daron Payne still there kind of doing his thing. And, this is a defense that has been, very good for the most part, certainly in playing together. And, by the way, Jonathan Allen wasn't lost for the season. I don't know what the hell I was looking at before, but, he's a guy who's been there and done that for many, many years. And they added a number of free agents. Bobby Wagner came over. Frankie Luvo came over from Carolina. A couple of pretty good linebackers. Jeremy Shin at the safety position. Dante Fowler Jr., is a guy who rushes the passer for them. But, when you watch them defend the run or lack thereof, they're not very good. And the Buccaneers have been very good in running the football and opening teams up with their inside blocking schemes, their gap schemes, if you will. So, they're really doing a great job of moving guys off the ball. And it all starts up front with their offensive line, which has been one of the very best in the NFL. We'll talk about Tristan Wirfs and how he was recognized this week as the very best at what he does in a matter of moments. But, look, for the Bucs, it's going to come down to running the football and then working play action. Liam Cohen loves to run those screen passes. He will try and test Washington's defense horizontally and then vertically after that. Once you establish a run game, then you could go play action and Baker can take his shots to either Mike Evans or a guy like Jalen McMillan, who's got 7 touchdowns over his last 5 games. He caught a touchdown on opening day for his first NFL score against Washington. And then, he had a big lull. He was very quiet there for several weeks. And then, last 5 games of the season, I thought he came on in a big way with 7 touchdowns. And look, I think he has emerged as the number 2 receiver in this offense. So with Marshawn Lattimore on Mike Evans and maybe some safety help too, we'll find out early on how Washington will defend Mike. It's going to open the way for Jalen McMillan and other guys in this passing game to do some work. And if Cade Otton is able to come back, and it looks like he will be back for this game, we'll find out in a couple of minutes with the injury report, then you're looking at all hands on deck, the Buccaneers being about as healthy, minus Chris Godwin, as they've been really all year long. Let's go to Todd in Tampa. Todd, what's going on?
Fellas, let's get down to business. Here it is. Just like I said, we win the division. Anyone who could beat the Detroit Lions this year deserves a home and wins the division, deserves a home game. You're as good as anybody. Okay? You're better than everybody, actually. Okay? The bottom line is this, Baker, play your game. Okay? You got the swing, pass, go deep. They know we're going deep. We're still going deep. And we're scoring touchdowns. Remember, just want to remind you of everything you already know. 2 hands and possession inbounds is a reception, no matter how many times they look at it in New York. It's inbounds. Praise God. We're attacking the end zone. Defensively, we're coming down. We're shutting down the middle, and we're keeping lateral pursuit, and we're knocking. We're expecting scoop and score. We're expecting defensive touchdowns. We're expecting us to rattle this kid and knock him back to DC. Bucs 28-17. They get it done in advance. God bless you. Go Bucs. Peace.
Oh, thank you very much, Todd. You know, he's going to be amped up for this game. And, you know, if you're a Bucs fan, I'm sure a lot of you are watching the other playoff matchup, which is taking place in Philadelphia, where the Eagles lead the Packers 10-0. They're early in the third quarter. And if you're the Bucs and a Bucs fan, you're rooting hard for the Packers. Because if the Packers win this game and knock off the Eagles, a 7 beating a 2, then the Bucs win tonight, they're guaranteed to get another home playoff game next weekend. So go, Pack, go is what a lot of Buccaneers are hoping for at this point. Let's go to Mike, who's listening through the iHeart app out in L.A. Mike, I hope you and your family and everyone else in Southern California are doing great with all the wildfires, man. How are you hanging in?
It's pretty scary, Tom, really. I had to evacuate, so I haven't been able to go back yet to see what's going on, but it's going to be okay. I'm loving your show as usual, Tom. And what do you think, Tom? What do you think Bowles is going to do tonight overall? Do you think he's going to blitz as much as normal? What do you think he's going to do with Daniels defensively?
I think it's a great question, Mike, and I appreciate the phone call because I got to run. Again, prayers to everyone in Southern Cal. As a result of the wildfires, that's why the Rams had to move their playoff game to Glendale, Arizona for tomorrow night. You know, the first meeting between these two teams, Todd Bowles blitzed Jaden Daniels a lot, almost half of his dropbacks. I don't know if you're going to see quite that many blitzes here tonight. I think it's going to go by feel because, you know, you have to see, you know, how Washington lines up. We got to see how healthy the Buccaneers are. Jamel Dean, how he's going to push off on that knee. Same thing with Antoine Winfield Jr. Look, if those two guys are relatively healthy, then yes, it opens up a number of possibilities, a number of different pressure packages that Todd Bowles will show. You know, they like to play a 5-man front, and at times you'll see 5 or 6 men right up along the line of scrimmage, and then it's up to Jaden Daniels to figure out, okay, who's coming, who's not. Because certain guys will have the look like they're coming, and then they'll drop back, and then another guy comes from the other corner. That's what Todd does, and he gets quite creative with some of these blitz looks and pressure packages, and I guarantee you, Jaden Daniels will see a few pressure packages that he didn't see in week 1 or hasn't seen on tape, and that's going to be the cat and mouse game, and you're going to have to be able to adjust in game because if they're making plays off certain coverages that you're in, then yeah, you may have to switch it up. And look, you can blame Todd Bowles for a lot of different things when it comes to game day management and his misuse of timeouts or replays or challenges or what have you. Here's one thing that Todd Bowles has done well. He's done a really good job of adjusting mid-game at the half. The last 5 games in the second half of those games that the Bucs have played, they've allowed a total of 9 points. That's it. Including shutting out the Chargers, by the way, on the road when they put 40 on them. In a couple of minutes, we're going to find out who's up, who's down for this game. Buccaneers are looking to get some good news on that front with the injury report. On the way back, though, the biggest challenge facing the Buccaneers tonight. We'll tell you about it coming up in 2 minutes right here on Countdown to Kickoff, getting you set for all things Bucs and Commanders on Wild Card Weekend on your home of the best Bucs coverage.
Sort of revenge and playoff advancement the Cowboys earned in Tampa 2 years ago. Swipe on the eye black and strap on your helmet. Let's get inside the huddle.
Top flight on 3. 1, 2, 3, top flight.
Presented by Green Tech Roofing and Solar. Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
He can do it all. Honestly, he can do it all. He's really good. He can throw the ball the right way, get active with his feet, so he do it all, man. So for us, we just got to go in with a great game plan, and I feel like I know we will.
Buccaneer linebacker Yaya Diaby, thoughts from him about defending Jaden Daniels. He can do it all. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. Also the leading rusher on this Commanders team. As we welcome you back at his Countdown to Kickoff, great to have you with us. We are inside the huddle, presented by my guys over at Green Tech Roofing and Solar, the #1 roofing solution in Tampa Bay. They offer free inspections. Yaya Diaby, by the way, you heard him there. I think it's a great thing what's happening on the defensive side for the Buccaneers, because Yaya had a big game last week in the victory over the Saints, and he was recognized for it. He had a sack. He had 4 quarterback hits. He had 4 TFLs. He was named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, so he's had a sack in each of his last 2 weeks, and now he's starting to ascend in this direction. Kalaja Kancey, the team leader in sacks, another guy from that same draft class. He's starting to ascend in this direction. Vita Vea, we know, in the middle of that defensive line has been a horse. He's been one of the more dominant interior linemen in football. That's why the Buccaneers are so tough to run against. When they came back from their Week 12 bye, ever since then, the Bucs have been #1 in the NFL against the run because of Vita Vea and Kalaja Kancey. And now Yaya Diaby is playing an integral role. Tonight, the challenge is going to be a little bit different, because the main rushing threat is not going to be Brian Robinson Jr. or Austin Eckler, who's more of a receiving threat for the Commandos coming out of the backfield. It's going to be Jaden Daniels on some of those RPOs. He can tuck that ball away. He can decide to take off and run, and he's going to be probably the fastest guy on the field. So the Bucs have to be very careful in terms of not letting this guy slip through any openings in their defense. Gap responsibility, gap integrity is going to be integral. Those edge defenders like Yaya and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and Anthony Nelson and Chris Braswell, those guys have to be disciplined in their rush lanes, especially a guy like JTS, who sometimes, is out of control when he just runs aimlessly up the field. And we've seen him do that on occasion. He's been a little more composed this year, but he's got to be disciplined in his rush lanes. You can't let Jaden Daniels get outside of the pocket, because that's when he becomes really dangerous in terms of him looking down the field for Terry McLaurin or somebody else, or Zach Ertz for a big pass play, or just Daniels just taking off and running and getting 25 to 30 yards or more. And he's capable of taking it all the way. That's how big and athletic and fast he is. So this is going to be a true challenge for the Buccaneers here tonight. They have to play sound, disciplined football, fundamentally sound, mind your gap responsibilities, and man, oh man, they got to tackle. The first half of last week's game, this team was terrible in terms of tackling. They've got to improve on their tackling tonight in order to avoid those big plays. Inside the Huddle, presented by Green Tech Roofing and Solar. This is Smart Roofing. There's an injury on the field. The update from Philadelphia, Romeo Doubs, who is coming off a concussion. He had a concussion earlier in the year, so he wears one of those Guardian caps. Jordan Love just threw into double coverage. I mean, there was a holding penalty anyway. I mean, he had Josh Jacobs wide open in the flat. I'm doing this show, and with another eye, I'm watching this game. This game's very important. If you're a Bucs fan, you're rooting for the Packers. And right now, the Eagles have had 3 turnovers in this game. And they only have a 10-point lead. It's still 10-0. And Romeo Doubs is being helped off the field and helped into the locker room at this point. It's now 2nd and 13 because of a holding call. Green Bay is at the 33-yard line of Philadelphia, and a pass was knocked down at the line of scrimmage, so it's now 3rd and 13 with 6:45 left in the third. So I'll keep you updated on this very important game. This is the other NFC wildcard game, and then you'll have the last one coming up tomorrow night between the Vikings and the Rams. Apopka's own Jalen Carter knocked that ball down. What a beast that guy is. My goodness. So I'll keep you updated on this game. And again, you're a Bucs fan. You're rooting for the Packers because a Buccaneer win tonight means you're hosting another home playoff game next weekend in the divisional round. And that's where you want to be living if you're the Bucs. Jordan Love going deep and a flag inside the 5-yard line. Pass interference, absolutely, on Philadelphia. So it's going to be a 1st and goal inside the 5-yard line on a double move. Oh, Dontavian Wicks was apt. Oh, come on. He got mugged. Who's 27? He should be in jail for that. Come on. That was first-degree assault. Oh, I didn't do anything. Come on. Give me a break. So, Kenyon Mitchell is actually a really good rookie out of Toledo. He's been one of the best rookie defensive players in the league this year. He commits the DPI, and now the Packers have a 1st and goal at the Philly 9. I'll keep you updated when we come back. More on this game, and we also will let you know who's up, who's down, the injury report. We're going to give it to you. It looks like the Buccaneers are going to be about as healthy as they've been all season long. Details coming your way next with the injury report here on Countdown to Kickoff.
Don't just wait for the big game.
Conditions apply.
Streaming on iHeartRadio and live on WDAE. Here's an Around the League update.
And it's brought to you by Root Air Conditioning, powered locally by Ferguson HVAC. Bucs and Commanders. Kickoff time just after 8 o'clock at Raymond James Stadium in our own backyard. We're so excited for this matchup. The injury report is coming up in a matter of moments. Rick Stroud will also join me in about 10 minutes. And then after 7 o'clock, we'll go behind enemy lines with Bram Weinstein, the Washington Commanders radio play-by-play man. Elsewhere around the league, the Packers did cash in. Unfortunately, they got a field goal, not a touchdown. So 5:46 left to go in the third quarter. In the other NFC wildcard game taking place today, the Eagles lead the Packers 10-3. Obviously, if you're a Bucs fan, you're rooting for a Packers win there. And then tomorrow night, you've got the Vikings and the Rams. That game has been moved to Glendale, Arizona because of the horrific wildfires taking place in Southern California. Earlier today, the Bills beat down the Broncos 31-7. So the Bills and Josh Allen will be hosting Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens next weekend. What a great matchup that's going to be in the divisional round. The Texans won at home yesterday over the Chargers, so they will go to Kansas City next weekend. And also today, the Patriots named Mike Vrabel, one of their star players, as their new head coach. Get reliable cooling and comfort installed by certified Root Pro partner. Go to rootacflorida.com to schedule service today. That's rootacflorida.com, powered locally by Ferguson HVAC.
Back to Countdown to Kickoff. Streaming live on Alexa and the free iHeartRadio app. Here's Tom Krasnicki. The inactives are out. Here's today's injury report. Presented by Tampa General Hospital in partnership with the Florida Orthopedic Institute. Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
All right, welcome back. Countdown to Kickoff is on the air. Great to have you with us. Tom Krasnicki with you. We're getting you set for the Buccaneers and the Commanders at kickoff time just after 8 o'clock at Raymond James Stadium. It is time for our injury report. It is brought to you by our friends over at the Florida Orthopedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital. And for the Buccaneers, a number of guys who have been laid up, who have been injured, are back tonight for the Buccaneers. The official announcement will come in about 2 minutes, and how it works is the inactives list is released 90 minutes prior to the game. So the game starts at around 8:10, 8:15, usually around 6:45, 90 minutes prior is when you get that official announcement. But the Buccaneers are very thankful, very optimistic. Antoine Winfield Jr., remember, Antoine Winfield Jr. signed this mega deal in the offseason. Highest paid defensive back ever, 4 years, more than $80 million. He deserved it. After the year he had last year, he was an all-pro, best safety in the NFL. He signed this big deal. And in week 1 against the Commanders in the victory, he hurts his foot. And then he goes on to miss 4 games with the foot injury. And then he comes back. Remember, it was the game in New Orleans. He had the scoop and the score for a touchdown. And then somewhere along the way, there's a knee injury. And he's been out the last few weeks with a knee injury. So it's been a very frustrating ordeal for Antoine Winfield Jr., who is honestly one of the best players at his position. Look, in order for Todd Bowles to accomplish what he wants to do defensively, Antoine Winfield Jr. is a huge part of that. He absolutely is. And the Buccaneers need him to be healthy. They need him to be out there doing his thing, because when Antoine Winfield Jr. is right, and hopefully he's over the foot injury and now the knee injury, because when he's right, he's a difference maker on the back end in terms of forcing turnovers as a blitzer, playing in the box, playing center field, playing in coverage. So this is a huge lift for the Buccaneers to get Antoine Winfield Jr. back for this game here tonight. And, they're going to need him against this team, this Washington Commanders team. They have Terry McLaurin. They also have Zach Ertz, who's their number 2 receiving option, the veteran tight end, certainly down the middle of the field. So it's going to be up to the Buccaneers on the back end to get healthy for this game. Now, last week against the Saints, they didn't have 3/4 of their starting secondary out there. Remember, Jordan Whitehead was injured in that car accident. He is now out for the rest of the season. So that was a critical loss. Antoine Winfield Jr. was out, and Jamel Dean was out. So the only starter that was out there last week was Zion McCollum. You had Josh Hayes on the other side, who got worked over a little bit by Spencer Rattler and the Saints. But you know what? He fought through it. And, you got to give him a lot of credit, because he battled through it. He led the team in tackles, and he showed some spunk, honestly, and some attitude and some toughness, because there were plays made against him, but, he kept coming back for more, which was obviously a good thing for him and a good thing for the Buccaneers. More of a special teams type of player. But, he's a guy that, the Buccaneers are really going to lean on in terms of, being, a backup corner ideally, and a guy who does his thing on special teams ideally. But the inactives are out for the Buccaneers. C.J. Brewer, Devin Culp, who's been really key the last 2 weeks. He's inactive, though, a healthy scratch, and we'll tell you why in a matter of moments. Cam Johnson, the wide receiver, Tanner Cano, the wide receiver, Ryan Neal, Royce Newman, Jose Ramirez, all of them are inactive. Now, the good news is that Antoine Winfield Jr. is active. Jamel Dean is active. So they will have practically their entire secondary minus Jordan Whitehead out there playing here tonight. That's the good news on defense. And on offense, Cade Otton is back after missing the last couple of weeks with a knee injury. That's why Devin Culp is a healthy scratch, because Cade Otton returns. And that's going to be a big lift for the Buccaneer passing game, right down the seam of the defense to kind of loosen things up with Evans on one side against Lattimore, Jalen McMillan on the other side as well. So 3 key members of this team are active. Logan Hall is also active. He was bothered by an injury during the week, but he's active and ready to go. And as for the Commanders, I mentioned Jonathan Allen. So Jonathan Allen played the first 8 games of the season, and then he tore his pectoral muscle in the middle part of the season, week 6 against Baltimore. They placed him on injured reserve. They thought he was going to be out for the season, and then they activated him. He showed like a remarkable recovery process, and he was activated a couple of weeks ago. So Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne are back together again in the middle of that defense. Allen went to the Pro Bowl in 2021 and 2022. I remember a couple of years ago when the Buccaneers played Washington, they lost that game. I have never seen Tom Brady hit harder than he was in that game by Jonathan Allen. I think Tom Brady will admit to that as well. My goodness. But Jonathan Allen is a tough customer. He's there in the middle of that D-line along with Daron Payne. You've got Frankie Luvo. You've got Bobby Wagner. So it's a solid defense, but you can run on these guys and you can certainly throw on these guys as well. But the good news is that Antoine Winfield Jr., Jamel Dean, Cade Otton, they are all active and they are all back from injury for the Buccaneers. The injury update presented by Tampa General Hospital in partnership with the Florida Orthopedic Institute. They provide you access to one of the top orthopedic programs in the nation. Schedule an appointment today at floridaortho.com. On the way, Rick Stroud standing by. We'll go inside the locker room with him. We'll get his thoughts on this matchup and the Buccaneers getting healthy at an opportune time. Also, 1 week comeback. Folks, I talked about this during the week on the drive, and this bears repeating. We are witnessing greatness in the making here.
Second through fourth, tickets at countrythunder.com.
Computer points. After their opening loss in Tampa, the Commanders won 7 of their next 8 on the way to a 12-5 record, the team's best record in 33 years, and an 8-win improvement over last year. This is Countdown to Kickoff.
Jay, it's a run now.
Now let's get back to TKras live on WDAE and streaming live on the free iHeartRadio app.
I mean, that's outstanding. It says a lot about him, his work ethic, his character, his pride, the way he goes about things. He does it the right way. He plays hard. He did a heck of a job at right tackle. I know he was skeptical at left tackle, but he dove in with both feet, and he got great attitude.
Bucs head coach Todd Bowles with high praise for his stud left tackle Tristan Wirfs, who this week was named a first-team All-Pro after he was named the first-team All-Pro right tackle a couple of years ago. Welcome back. It is Countdown to Kickoff. Great to have you with us. Tom Krasnick with you, getting you set for the Buccaneers and the Commanders. Now, we all know how great Mike Evans is. Mike is going to the Hall of Fame. You know, he's got this incredible record, tying Jerry Rice last week. He adds to his record most consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons to start a career. No one's ever done it. Mike continues to add to it, 11 straight. And he ties Jerry Rice with 11 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Jerry Rice has the most with 14. And Mike right now is going to be on his heels. He's going to need 3 more of those years, which is going to be hard to do. But if anyone can do it, it's certainly Mike. So we all know how great of a person Mike is and what a great player he is as well. But we also need to start acknowledging how great Tristan Wirfs is and what he is becoming. Because in my opinion, he's the best left tackle in the NFL, and it's not close. He has taken that honor from Trent Williams, who didn't play much this year. Trent Williams is 36, going on 37 years old. The best left tackle resides right here in Tampa Bay. It's Tristan Wirfs. And you could make a case that he's one of the best offensive linemen, period, in the NFL. In 1,000-plus snaps this year at left tackle, Tristan Wirfs did not allow a single sack across 16 games. Remember, he sprained his MCL too. He missed 1 game. He's been playing through a knee injury. He's been playing through an ankle. A lot of these guys are tough guys, man. They're playing through a lot of different ailments and injuries. But not 1 sack in over 1,000 snaps as a left tackle. You're facing the opposing team's best pass rusher every single week. And he didn't allow 1 sack. In fact, he only allowed 1 quarterback hit and just 12 pressures over the course of the entire season. The dude is a brick wall at left tackle. And he's a horse in the running game. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. Now an all-pro right tackle, now an all-pro left tackle. He's the first man in the history of this award who has garnered both distinctions. Nobody else has ever done that. All-pro right tackle, all-pro left tackle. And if he continues on this trajectory, Tristan Wirfs will also be wearing a gold jacket one day. And the only thing that can stop him is, oh God, let's hope not, is injuries. And nobody wants to see that happening. But when his career is all said and done with, we might be looking at a guy in Tristan Wirfs being one of the best offensive linemen ever. Ever. And it's not being a prisoner of the moment. It's watching this guy each and every day, each and every year, dominate at right tackle, and then he goes and dominates, and he's even better at left tackle, which is unheard of. And he's on that trajectory for greatness. And when his career is all said and done with, we might be looking at one of the best ever. All right, coming up, he's standing by. He's at Raymond James Stadium. I'll get his thoughts on Tristan Wirfs. The Buccaneers are getting healthy at the right time. What about Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore? How will the Buccaneers defend Jaden Daniels?
VAC.
Countdown to Kickoff rolls on. Let's return to your host, Tom Krasnicki, live on WDAE and streaming live on the free iHeartRadio app. The insight, the analysis, and opinion for your ears only.
Let's go now, huh? All right, let's pick it up. Let's go, man. All right now.
Let's dive inside the locker room with Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Presented by Reese Windows and Doors. Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
Welcome back. Countdown to Kickoff is on the air. Great to have you with us. Getting you set for the wild card matchup between the Buccaneers and the Commanders at Ray J. Kickoff time just after 8 o'clock. Let's go inside the locker room with Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Presented by Reese Windows and Doors. You can read him at TampaBay.com. And Rick is at Raymond James Stadium, and he joins us here on this game night. Rick, how are you, buddy? What is the atmosphere like at Ray J here tonight?
Well, I think it's going to be electric. There's as usual, a lot of Washington fans. We seem to get that down here in Tampa Bay, but it's a beautiful night. No problems with the field, which looks great, and we should have a really good game here between these two teams that are high-scoring teams.
And great football weather as well, with temperatures in the 50s for this game here tonight. Let's talk about the Buccaneers and their injury situation, Rick. They're getting a number of guys back here tonight. They're about as healthy as they've been all season long. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you start with Antoine Winfield Jr., who, of course, was arguably their best player on defense, highest paid defensive back. Just missed so many games this year. And, we'll see not only, is it great that he's back for their defense. We'll see how effective he can be, when he's in the game. And Jamel Dean is going to play as well. So really they got 3/4 of their secondary, which is huge for this Buccaneer team, especially when you're playing the likes of Jaden Daniels. And, I agree with you. I think this is about as healthy as we've seen this team in terms of guys available. There's some questionable guys like Logan Hall. He's going to play. So really, Cade Otton returns after missing a few games. That's going to be huge if he's able to be effective on that knee. So, that will not be the reason why this football team were to lose. If they do, they're heading into the playoffs with just about all their guys.
And their offense, Rick, is about as good as there is right in the NFL, because they can run it on you. They can throw it on you. We saw Mike. He got the record last week. Bucky Irving is obviously on a heater at this point, and so is Liam Cohen. And on the other side, a Washington Commanders team that was 30th in the NFL against the run. So can we see plenty of Bucky here tonight?
Well, you would think so. I know he's probably going to start the game like he has the last few weeks, and it just depends. It's so much, of the playoffs and games that the Bucs have played is based on how well they start. I think we'll know early on. Of course, they won their first game that they trailed in just last week, but against Carolina, they ran all over them. Carolina couldn't stop the run. Dallas couldn't either, and they just didn't have enough rushing attempts, I don't think. They corrected that, a little bit last week. And I think the run game has obviously been the difference in this football team. They're as balanced as any team in the league right now. They can run it. They can throw it. Creates a lot of good matchups and opportunities down the field for Baker Mayfield. And he's run the ball as well. 60-something yards last week, which is a career high. This is all hands on deck. You're going to play everybody that you think can help you. But Bucky Irving has just been one of the best backs in the league, average over 5 yards a carry. And he's going to be their bell cow tonight.
We're inside the locker room with Rick Stroud. Countdown to Kickoff. He's at Ray J. Bucs and the Commanders coming up in about an hour. And you mentioned matchups, and there's no bigger matchup tonight than Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore. They can renew their acquaintances here tonight. Two guys who don't like each other. You know what Marshawn Lattimore said during the week, and you had a chance to talk to Mike. You had it at TampaBay.com. How is Mike Evans approaching this matchup?
And Mike says the same thing every time before they play. I mean, they have a lot of respect for each other, and they've gone against each other, obviously, a ton. And yet you still have a history that goes back to, 2018 and, a couple suspensions and a lot of fines and this kind of stuff. Sometimes it's really just Mike kind of jumping into the pile when Marshawn is yapping at somebody else. And so, there's so much at stake tonight that I would be surprised if there's any extracurriculars like that where you could potentially get a personal foul. I think the thing to watch, though, is how they call the game. I mean, these two guys are going to be hand fighting, down the field. You're going to see some offensive PIs. You're going to see some defensive holding. And then, Lattimore hasn't played for a while. He's coming off an injury. They traded for him for this sort of matchup. And certainly he's done well against Mike in the past, and Mike's had a couple of good games. But if you just isolate on those two guys, I think it'll be fun to watch. And the other thing, though, is that Liam Cohen has moved Mike Evans around a lot this year. So he might not be, specifically on Lattimore unless Lattimore travels with him, because Mike's been in the slot about 40% of the time. So that gives him a two-way go and some other matchups that he might have. But we'll see how Liam Cohen plays it. But I would expect they'll challenge Lattimore, and they're going to get the ball to Mike early and often, because that's when he has his best games.
And, Rick, on the other side, back to week one, I know a lot has changed since that matchup, but Todd Bowles blitzed Jaden Daniels on almost half of his dropbacks. Now he's got Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jamel Dean, Yaya Diaby playing really well, the reigning NFC Defensive Player of the Week. How do you think Todd will try and attack Jaden Daniels here tonight? That should be interesting.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you see as many blitzes, unless they have an advantageous, down and distance. I think the key will be first down. Can they stop the run? And the Bucs have been good at that. The Commanders aren't one of the best running teams in the league, and that goes without saying. I mean, Brian Robinson Jr. is okay as a back. They're going to have Austin Eckler back, which is a big get for them. But if they can get into predictable downs, I can see them bringing some pressure. But if you let Daniels, step up and get away when you're bringing extra attackers like that, he's so dangerous. He's almost a human first down. When he wants 10 yards and he pulls it down, he's faster than literally everybody on the field. So you got to pick your poison. I think that Bowles will try to keep everything in front. I think he'll try to avoid the big play down the field. I don't know how much single high safety you'll see tonight, but they'll mix it up. And he's always known to try to put pressure by dialing up the blitzes. And I just don't think there'll be as many as we saw in week one.
Rick, give me an X factor, something that you're looking forward to seeing here tonight that could determine the outcome of this game.
Well, I mean, I think when you get a player like Antoine Winfield Jr. back, that helps your communication on the back end. They've been waiting for him just to get on the field. There's been some reports that he feels as good as he's felt, pretty much all year. And if that's true, Antoine Winfield Jr. is a difference maker at all three levels. He can cover, obviously, the back end. He's somebody that can intercept the ball, and he can rush the passer if need be. So, to me, when you get that weapon back on defense, that should make you a whole lot better back there. And I'm looking for Antoine Winfield Jr. to do something to announce his arrival back in the lineup.
I agree. It's going to be exciting. He's there at Raymond James Stadium. You can read him Tampa Bay Times and at TampaBay.com. Rick Stroud. It should be an exciting night of football. Rick, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the game, buddy.
All right, Tom. We'll see if we talk to you next week.
You got it. That's Rick Stroud inside the locker room with him. Presented by Reese Windows and Doors. You can win $15,000 in free windows right now. Here's what you need to do. Get your phone out. Text HAPPY. And hopefully we'll all be happy at around 11:30 tonight. Text HAPPY to 20129. There is an update from Philadelphia, a game of extreme importance to the Buccaneers and their fans. I'll update you on that. Primetime.
Thanks to Farah and Farah, it's never been easier to send your opinions directly to your favorite show. When you open the app, click the red talkback microphone and hit send. Farah and Farah, here to make it easy, Tampa. Pewter points. Sunday night's game will pit the 4th and 5th highest scoring teams in the league in 2024, with a Bucs average of 29.5 points per game, just edged out by the Commanders' 28.5. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay's defense ranks 16th in points allowed, while the Commanders' defense finished up 18th. The games that matter from around the National Football League. Here's your slate of primetime games, presented by California Closets Tampa Bay, live on Countdown to Kickoff.
Welcome back. Countdown to Kickoff is on the air. We're about an hour away from kick time at Ray J between the Bucs and the Commanders. It's time for primetime games, presented by my guys over at California Closets of Tampa Bay. Organize and upgrade your living space with California Closets. Head on over to CaliforniaClosetstampaBay.com for inspiration. A game the Buccaneers and their fans are watching closely. It's going on right now. NFC wildcard matchup in Philadelphia. The Eagles lead the Packers 16-10. 10:40 left to go in the fourth quarter. So the Packers just scored a few moments ago on a Josh Jacobs touchdown run. Now the Eagles are driving down the field. They're in the red zone, but they just committed a holding penalty, so that's going to back them up just a little bit. So it'll be a 1st and 20 for the Eagles at the Green Bay 24. It's 16-10 Eagles, 10:46 left to go. Of course, you're rooting for a Packers win. A Packers win means the Buccaneers would get another home playoff game next weekend if they get by the Commanders here tonight. Now, earlier today, the Bills, they thumped the Broncos 31-7. So now Buffalo will host Lamar Jackson and Baltimore next weekend on the divisional round weekend. What a matchup that's going to be. And the other AFC matchup will be Houston at Kansas City. And then you have the Vikings and the Rams tomorrow night. That game was supposed to be played in SoCal, but with the wildfires, it got moved to Glendale, Arizona. Thoughts and prayers, man. Just horrifying images coming out of SoCal as a result of those fires that has claimed more than 10,000 homes and buildings there. Primetime games presented by California Closets of Tampa Bay. Organize and upgrade your living space with California Closets. Head to CaliforniaClosetstampaBay.com for inspiration. All right, when we come back, an around the league update, and we'll go behind enemy lines. So, how big of a turnaround was it with this Washington Commanders team? New owner, new GM, new coach, new quarterback. They went from 4-13 to 12-5. We'll talk to their radio play-by-play man, Bram Weinstein, next as we go behind enemy lines here on Countdown to Kickoff.
In today's Marketers Report, Kate Cronin, Chief Brand Officer of Moderna, weighs in on the speed of audio production.
In this day and age, and particularly at Moderna, where we have new information coming out on a regular basis, being able to feed that information to the audio format makes being nimble and pivoting easy, and that's what I really like about it.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, influencers, insights, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Don't just wait for the big game. Bet on big playoff games every weekend, only on Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us and turn playoff predictions into paydays. If your team's season is already over,
looks like they're headed home early.
It only takes $1 to make any game interesting.
And we're back. What a game.
Download Hard Rock Bet. Win your first bet or get up to $100 back in bonus bets. Payable in bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Attention! Guarantee Media is giving away 4 days in Jamaica, Bahamas, or Punta Cana, Dominican Republic with hotel and airfare included for just $99. Here's how. Be one of the first 50 listeners to name a country without the letter A in its name, and you'll be off to a vacation to the Caribbean. Text your answer to to 96551. That's 96551. And you'll get 4 days in Jamaica, Bahamas, or Punta Cana, Dominican Republic with hotel fare included. That's right. Be one of the first 50 to text the name of a country without the letter A in its name, and you'll go on a 4-day vacation to the Caribbean. Text your answer to 96551. That's 96551. Be one of the first 50 listeners to name a country without the letter A in its name and get 4 days in the Caribbean with hotel and airfare included for only $99. Text your answer to 96551. That's 96551. This promotion is paid for by Guarantee Media to solicit vacation ownership sales and is not affiliated with iHeartMedia. Terms and conditions apply.
Streaming on iHeartRadio and live on WDAE. Here's an Around the League update.
And it's brought to you by Root Air Conditioning, powered locally by Ferguson HVAC. Bucs and Commanders in less than an hour. We'll go behind enemy lines with the very talented Bram Weinstein, the Washington Commanders play-by-play man, in a matter of moments. Up in Philadelphia, the Eagles are driving. They're down in the red zone. They've got a 16-10 lead on the Packers. This is the other wild card matchup in the NFC that's taking place today. Of course, the Bucs and their fans are hoping for a Packers win. Of course, we'll keep you updated. Earlier today, Bills all over the Broncos, 31-7. Mike Vrabel named the new head coach of the New England Patriots, and tomorrow night it's the Vikings and the Rams in the other NFC wild card matchup. Get reliable cooling and comfort installed by certified Root Pro Partner. Go to rootacflorida.com to schedule service today. That's rootacflorida.com, powered locally by Ferguson HVAC.
Back to Countdown to Kickoff. Streaming live on Alexa and the free iHeartRadio app. Here's Tom Krasnicki. Driving into today's opponent. Let's begin our march across enemy lines. Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
The Eagles, by the way, just kicked a field goal. Jake Elliott from 30 yards out. They now lead the Packers 19-10 with 7:33 left. So the Eagles up by 9 with 7.5 minutes left. We'll keep you updated. Welcome back. It is Countdown to Kickoff. Great to have you with us, getting you set for the Bucs and the Commanders. TKras, Tom Krasnicki with you. Derek DeBose on the ones and the twos. We've got game day locks coming up. We also have the 3 keys to victory. I'll give that to you, as well as the weather report and the 2-minute warning before we get out of here at 8 o'clock. But what's the story behind this incredible resurgence of the Washington Commanders? They finished 12-5, the most wins that they've had since the early 90s. Let's go behind enemy lines right now. Joining me right now is the Washington Commanders radio play-by-play man. He is Bram Weinstein, and he's with me here on WDAE. Bram, how are you, man?
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great. Great to have you with us. Buccaneers and Commanders. He's the Commanders radio play-by-play man, Bram Weinstein. We certainly enjoyed this trip behind enemy lines. Bram, thanks for a couple of minutes and enjoy the game, my friend.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Bram. Bram Weinstein, great job there. All right, when we come back, the key to the Bucs making a postseason run and an update from Philadelphia on the other wild card game, that is next.
Hi, I'm Benny Jr. with Bartow Ford. And while Bartow Ford...
Is Countdown to Kickoff.
Flex ran to. James run now.
Let's get back to TKras on WDAE and streaming live on the free iHeartRadio app.
I believe getting there is one thing. I think you got to take care of the football. I think you got to be able to run it, and I think you got to stop the run. I think you got to limit the mistakes and the penalties. Those things all come down to it at the end. If you can do those things, you have a chance of winning the football game.
Head coach Todd Bowles of the Buccaneers knows what it takes to get into the playoffs, but can the Buccaneers make a run? And he said something interesting there. The Bucs can run the ball. They can stop the run. That will certainly serve them well, and that travels anywhere. You can go anywhere and beat anybody if you can run it and if you can stop it. The question is the 12 penalties last week against the Saints, the turnovers. If the Buccaneers can cut all of that out, they can play with anybody and they can certainly beat anybody on their terms. And when we come back, I have some game day locks for you, some player props via the Hard Rock Bet app that you need to get in on.
What's today's path to victory? Here are the keys to the game. Presented by your Tampa Metropolitan Area YMCA. Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
Welcome back. Countdown to Kickoff is on the air. Bucs and the Commanders coming up just after 8 o'clock. Time now for our keys to the game presented by our friends over at the YMCA. All right, number one. This sounds pretty elementary and simplistic. Score first. When the Buccaneers scored first during the regular season, they were 9-1. When they didn't, they were 1-6. Now, the Saints scored first last week, and the Buccaneers were able to reverse that trend. Maybe they can reverse the whole primetime trend here tonight. But when the Bucs score first, they feel good about themselves. You get the crowd into it. I think it could be beneficial for everybody. Number two, and this kind of works into it as well, establish the tempo or / impose your will. Now, the Bucs, I think, are a bigger, tougher, more physical team. Offensive line, one of the best. Defensive line, great job against the run. I think the Bucs need to lean on that physicality. They need to establish the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively. I think if they can do that and control the line of scrimmage, and obviously you got to limit the big plays and the turnovers, then they can absolutely, do something here against this team. And number three, Mike Evans, my message to him, don't take the bait. We've been down this road before. Marshawn Lattimore is a punk, plain and simple. He's an antagonist. And Mike is going to get baited. He's going to get goaded, and he absolutely cannot take the bait against Marshawn Lattimore here tonight. So those are your keys to the game presented by the YMCA. Find your next goal. Find your next win. Visit TampaYMCA.org to see everything that the Y has to offer. All right, the heavyweight championship match is coming up between heated rivals. It is renewed tonight. We'll get more into it next.
The Mosaic Company is committed to supporting the communities where they operate and where their employees live. Mosaic donates more than $15 million toward community investments, supporting critical food programs, environmental stewardship, and programs that make a positive impact in local communities and around the world. Learn more about how Mosaic is helping the world grow the food it needs at MosaicCO.com. That's MosaicCO.com.
This is Monster Jam. Witness big air, two-wheel skills, backflips, and all-out racing. It's the only place to see the world's best drivers tear up the dirt in your favorite Monster Jam trucks. It's big-time fun for the whole family. Monster Jam, as big as it gets. Coming to Raymond James Stadium February 1st and 2nd. Brought to you by Big 80 Tires. Tickets on sale now. Visit monsterjam.com today.
Looking for the perfect gift this season? Achieva Credit Union has a brand new holiday auto loan special. Enjoy free gap coverage with all auto loans and refinances, a value of $449. Achieva makes it easy with competitive rates and quick approvals. Give yourself the gift of the open road and get free gap today. Head down to your nearest Achieva branch to get started. Free guaranteed asset protection gap is included with eligible auto loans. Visit AchievaCU.com for details. Achieva is federally insured by the NCUA.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thank you for talking.
For tips to start the talk, turn to Central Florida Behavioral Health Network at cfbhn.org. Central Florida Behavioral Health Network is a managing entity contracted with the Department of Children and Families.
This is Countdown to Kickoff.
Chase the run now.
Now let's get back to TKras live on WDAE and streaming live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Mike's a pro. He understands what's at stake and he understands the game. Nothing really needs to be said about that. They're both great players and they both like to compete.
Mike Evans against Marshawn Lattimore will be the key matchup. Todd Bowles talks about it there. 13 games head-to-head against Lattimore. Mike Evans is averaging 2.5 catches for 43.5 receiving yards. So Lattimore has absolutely played him tough. He gets physical with Mike. He gets in Mike's head. Mike has to play a composed game. He cannot take the bait. If he does all that, stick to his game, I think Mike is going to be fine tonight. I know there's going to be times where he's going to be baited or goaded into going back after Marshawn Lattimore, but he absolutely has to resist the temptation at this point. This is all up to Mike. And you know what? I think the Buccaneers should test that hamstring of Marshawn Lattimore. He's missed a lot of time this year. I don't think he's 100%. The Commanders are claiming, oh, he's great. He looks great. Bupkis. I'm testing him. Run some deep routes against this guy. Let's see if that hamstring can live up to the billing. But this is going to be must-watch theater tonight. Evans against Lattimore. All right, when we come back, what does the weather look like for tonight? I'm going to tell you about it next.
You need to keep your company running smoothly. Learn how ServiceTitan helps manage your business at ServiceTitan.com. ServiceTitan.com.
What impact will the elements have on today's contest? Let's check the weather report on Countdown to Kickoff.
All right, welcome back. Just minutes away from the Bucs and the Commanders. What a beautiful night for football at Raymond James Stadium. Game time temperature, 53 degrees, a very light wind at 3 miles an hour, no precip. It'll be down into the 40s by the time this game ends at around 11:30 tonight. All right, 1 week.
only at Bonefish Grill.
Time is running out. The kick is around the corner. Huddle up because here's the 2-minute warning.
Don't give me 2.
Live on Countdown to Kickoff.
Just moments away from Bucs and Commanders kicking off wild card game at Raymond James Stadium. Welcome back. Countdown to Kickoff. 2-minute warning presented by the Gold and Diamond Source. And there will be plenty of electricity in the air. There is electricity in the air for this playoff matchup here tonight between the Bucs and the Commanders. Look, if the Bucs do not hurt themselves, the only thing that can stop the Buccaneers, in my opinion, are the Buccaneers. They could run it. They can throw it. Baker Mayfield's been exceptional. He's had a career year. He's got a wonderful running back in Bucky Irving. You know, he's getting Cade Otton back tonight. I think that is going to be a very good development for him and this offense at this point. And look, defensively, I'm looking at Antoine Winfield Jr. 4 years, $84 million, highest paid safety in football. He hasn't lived up to that contract yet, but tonight would be a great night and a great time for Antoine Winfield Jr. to do just that. Make up for it. Show everybody where you're at, that you're still one of the best players in football at the safety position. As a blitzer, as a guy who causes turnovers, we know he's a difference maker. The Buccaneers need Antoine Winfield Jr. to turn into that big play man tonight in a playoff setting at home. I want to thank Rick Stroud and Bram Weinstein for joining me. Great job, Derek DeBose on the other side. My prediction, Buccaneers 31, Commanders 24. I think the Buccaneers are a little bit better than Washington. I think the Commanders are a year early. 2-minute warning presented by the Gold and Diamond Source, serving Tampa Bay since 1984. All right, a reminder, when the game ends, come back to us later on tonight right here on WDAE 95.3 FM, AM 620, along the iHeartRadio app. I'll have the overtime show, my reaction, your calls, locker room reaction as well. The overtime show once the game ends.